are venture capitalists looking to catch that highly coveted blockchain unicorn? How does Asia fare to the rest of the world? And to innovate or regulate, who will disrupt and who will fold? Welcome to Word on the Block, the series that takes a deeper dive into blockchain and the emerging technologies that shape our world at the intersection of business, politics, and economy. It's what we cover right here on Forkast News. I'm Forkast.News Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. True Global Ventures, a global technology equity fund out of Singapore, has reserved its $100 million TGV4 Plus fund for blockchain companies. And they are now in search of what could grow to be the next blockchain unicorn. We've already seen one coming out of Asia. Animoca Brands, the play-to-earn blockchain gaming and NFT specialist, is also in TGV's portfolio. With GameFi and NFTs continuing its unstoppable rise, something tells me that Animoca won't be Asia's last blockchain unicorn. Definitely more to come from Asia and around the world. So where are they? Well, today I'm joined by two of TGV's partners who will be taking us through the VC landscape in blockchain in Asia. The founder of venture development and education group MaGESpire, Bowie Lau, and the co-founder of networking platform ReferReach Kelly Choo. Bowie, Kelly, welcome to you both to the show.
Thank you, Angie. Glad to be here today.
Thanks, Angie, for inviting us.
I'm so very excited because there's so many people who know that they need to pay attention to Asia, who know that the role that Asia is playing is integral to the innovation and the acceleration of blockchain in this space, who know that this area is just like a giant petri dish of blockchain innovation. But it's really a dark spot for so many people. So I'm super excited to have you both on because you have been making waves in this space for a while. You've just closed your $100 million fund and you're ready to put that capital to work. But I want you to share just a little perspective with everyone who might not be as familiar with the landscape here. What's happening in Asia? Why are you so excited as VCs to be here, to be in Singapore, to be in Hong Kong, to be in Asia, and put your money to work? Kelly, I'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Angie. I think one of the most important things about Asia is that it's always a high growth region. And number one, right? Number two, I think a lot of, the youngsters here in Asia are gamers by, when they were almost born, right? When they came out, they were like, already on the mobile phones and already, playing games. So I think there's a leap there. I think a lot of the Asian countries, they leapt across the, kind of like the PC gaming world. They went directly into mobile. So they're all really into, this kind of games, mobile games and whatnot, entertainment, all from the mobile phones. So we're really excited because these are the groups of, people that will be adopting, new technologies really, really quickly. So that's number one, right? Number two, I think there's this whole thing on GameFi and play to earn, right? Like for example, one of the breakout stars, in the recent months has been Axie Infinity. So they have, kind of like, led the way in terms of this whole play-to-earn revolution that's happening now. And, players can earn anything from $800 to over thousands of US dollars, right? And I would say that in Asia, that amount of money actually makes a difference, right? You can actually pay for the whole family in terms of their monthly kind of expenses. While in versus, like say, for example, in Europe or in US, that could only mean maybe just a week's worth of living expense. So I would say that in Asia, one of the exciting things about this whole play to earn is that a lot of these players are actually putting food on the table. They're actually changing their lives because, they're playing all these games and basically earning a living out of it. So we're extremely excited over that growth. So I think it's the young generation that's coming out, mobile first. And number two, a lot of these these play to earn games are now changing their lives. So we're extremely excited over that.
Bowie, what do you think is the differential in Asia? Why are you excited about the space that you're seeing in Asia?
Yeah, so Asia generally has a traditional culture, and most of us have traditional parents, and we always have a conservative way of doing things. So with the advent of blockchain and cryptocurrency, it was a liberating experience to the younger generation of millennials and Generation Z. This finds its way to how traditional finance can be redefined in a more free and decentralized way. And this gives birth to the DeFi movement. And this is an exciting new place that is trying to redefine access to financial products and leverage for people who are not necessarily rich. So, however, even though DeFi looks attractive with very high interest rate, it is still quite risky. And it's undergoing a lot of evolution to improve and mitigate risk. So innocent DeFi investors can lose 100% of their money they invest. There could be many risks that are associated with DeFi, smart contract bugs, developer oversight, or flash loan attacks or rug pulls, and scammers due to fraud committed by a few players, just to name a few of the potential risk.
You know, I think both of you touched on something so integral here, which is this convergence of demographic and emerging developing nation kind of sensibility. So you have this hunger coming from a young demographic to leapfrog. You also have emerging markets from Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, across much of Southeast Asia and a significant part of Asia that's also looking to leapfrog with that innovation. It's an exciting time to be in this space. Kelly, I totally hear you on Axie Infinity. You know, this is a story that we've been covering for a while now. And suddenly play to earn is the next hottest thing. But it really is that triangulation of economic need. You could literally put food on the table. This is, we saw it emerge out of Vietnam. It caught fire in the Philippines, where, 70% of that adult population is unbanked. The economic realities of that country is, there's such an inequality there. Much of the country has to leave the country to make money, to send money back at home. How does blockchain, how do all of these things, these kind of demographic sensibilities, these kind of geographical and geopolitical sensibilities in Asia, how does that all kind of froth up into how you make your decisions to put bets on certain things? So obviously, you've got play to earn, but what else kind of inspires you to put your money to work?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question there, Angie. So I think first things first is that every region, every country is very, very different. So as if you're an entrepreneur and you want to target a particular region or a particular country, I guess you really need to understand what is happening in that particular country or region, right? You cannot take the same technology that maybe works in the US or Europe and then just try to transplant it wholesale into Asia, right? You probably will not work, right? Things like affordability, culture, even, risk tolerance, all these things are factors within that particular country itself. So I think number one, a lot of these innovations that we see are also coming up from Asia. They don't necessarily, they're not necessarily just coming out from Europe or US itself, although those are the countries that are leading the way in terms of innovations. But we see a lot of other innovations in Asia itself. One of them is this YGG, Games Guild, right? They are basically a kind of community that works around all the play to earn kind of games, be it Axie Infinity, whether it's Sandbox or any other games that are basically play to earn. So they're really created because there was a need, specifically because in the Philippines, if you're asking someone to pay like $1,000 US just to play a game, I mean, nobody will play it. I mean, even in the West, right? Nobody will pay that kind of money just to play a game. So what they've done is that they created a community and they've created such a structure that basically those with money can actually fund those without money, those who are willing to play for those who are, have the capability to actually fund those little Axies, right? So it has created a community where I think it actually is thriving now, where those who, like I said, have money are working with those who have time. And this synergistic relationship has created this whole guild, right, or this whole community that can function, right? So they call this the scholarship method, right? So basically people have money funding those without. And that's created, I think, a lot of financial inclusion. So you don't have to spend $1,000. You don't need to take the risk. You just have to take the risk in terms of the time and the skills of playing the game, right? And I really think, personally, if you ask me, this is actually one of the killer apps, right? If you call it the killer apps of solving the unbanked problem, because people now are very motivated to start a wallet, right? To start a crypto wallet to actually use it to put food on the table, to pay for the bills, and as a result of having that wallet, now they're banked, right? Or so-called banks, and then that's where you can actually obviously put on other financial services like insurance, like home loans, everything else on top of that. So this is, I think, one of the interesting part about this whole area, right? That is, innovations are also ground up from Asia. It's not just happening in Europe or in US.
So what you're saying is that, this is really interesting. You're telling me that the metaverse, right? Axie Infinity, you've got investors backing players in the game. They're playing to earn. The gamers are earning money. They're earning tokens. They're earning NFTs. They send a bit of their cut back to their investor. They keep some of the funds.
Yep.
Second layer, what you're talking about that just piqued my interest. You're talking about financial services for these gamers who have been disenfranchised from the system from pretty much day one. Insurance products, banking, exchanges, wealth generation in the metaverse, and all of this is happening in the metaverse?
Yes, absolutely, because they have been disenfranchised, right? They never probably had a bank account, or even if they had a bank account, there wasn't much money in there, right? So they were not seen as targets for these financial companies, right? Because you obviously would not offer a credit card to someone who maybe not deemed as creditworthy. But imagine that if you have that wallet that you've been working, you've been working so hard on Axie Infinity or any other play to earn game, and that shows you your reputation, your creditworthiness, right? Your ability to earn. Then I can, as a new next generation financial, company, I could then, obviously extend to you maybe some credit, maybe some, insurance, because, these are all what we call the next generation jobs, right? It's just similar to like in Grab or Uber, right? Or even any of these Food Panda, right? Where you have all these gig economy workers. A lot of them cannot buy, insurance, or they cannot buy certain kinds of products that maybe, someone like a white collar worker could do, right? Because they don't have constant income. So this is also an opportunity for these, new type of jobs to generate this kind of, credibility or credit score, right? So that they can actually consume these new types of financial products.
Where do you find this deal flow, Bowie? You got a great thesis. Where's the deal flow for this?
Well, the uniqueness of this fund is there are over 40 partners globally across 20 cities. So each of us, we are serial entrepreneur. We have our own network. I myself am an angel. I do direct investment to different startups. So Kelly is based in Singapore. So all of us are based all over the world, and I get deal flow almost every day, and I get to see the pitch deck and get to have a phone call with them almost on a daily basis. So deal flow is not a challenge at all, and I really like the fact that I joined this fund is because I'm strong in Asia Pacific, but I also have partners that cover in other regions, in Europe, in US time area. So and to elaborate a bit more than the 4 specific verticals that we are highly interested. One is in financial services, second is in infrastructure, third is in AI/data analytics, and last but not least is gaming and entertainment.
And all integrated back into blockchain technology?
Yeah, we have a high interest of blockchain, but then I think most of our portfolio companies are with our blockchain element, but it's not a must. But there are also 2 more specific policy that we apply. First, the startup has to be a serial entrepreneur. You have to be this has to be your second startup or third. And second is that you have got to, as founder or co-founder of your startup, you got to invest a substantial amount of money back into the startup. So if we hit those 4 vertical and match to these 2 criteria, so come to us.
I love it. I think, you know, as people are kind of listening in and learning a little bit more just based on your experience, you know, what would surprise them if you shared what you knew about Asia? What do you think would surprise your fellow VCs or your peers in Europe and the US? You know, what surprises them about Asia?
Yeah, maybe I can answer that. I think one of the things that surprises a lot of not just our partners but also I guess other VCs about Asia is that sometimes they think Asia is one big continent, just like maybe in the US, or maybe it's like like Europe, right? I mean, what is Europe, right? There's so many countries under Europe, so they think Asia is very homogeneous, which obviously is not. And I guess they think there's only maybe 3 or 4 different languages, which obviously there's not. Right? There's so many different languages. So I think that's one, that if they don't have experience in Asia, they realize that it's so fragmented. Even if you deploy like a solution here, it doesn't mean it will work in every part of Asia. So I think that generally surprises when I speak to some of my partners and some of the other VC firms, if they never invested here before. So that surprises them. And I think the other thing that I think I raised up just now was the innovation that's happening here, right? They think that obviously blockchain is something that only happens, or innovation only happens in the West, and maybe in Singapore and Hong Kong where there's some innovation, but actually there's a lot of innovation that's happening in other parts of Asia, not just in Singapore and in Hong Kong. Just like the example I gave you in YGG, right? These are really from ground up, and because there's a pain, there's a need, they have innovated.
Well, Axie Infinity is a great example, right? Born out of Vietnam. But I think all of us who have been, in the region for this long, we know that is a young demographic, highly literate in technology, in the internet, in developing, and kind of like that ease of that developer mindset. They're just super well versed. They've been connected despite it being a communist country. They have always been connected to the, to the wide world web, and to the internet. And then you just have very interesting economic, investments on the ground, opening up to the global economy. And then again, to your point, that you've both made, which is this hungry young demographic who's very literate in technology and ready to put it to work and leapfrog and join the global economy. Axie Infinity kind of taps into all of those sensibilities, but most importantly, that play to earn sensibility. What else can we see out of Asia that is going to take the world by storm, in your view?
Yeah, I think to add on that point just now, Angie, when you mentioned that, I think one of the things that at least I observe, I mean, this is just my anecdotal observation, I don't have enough data to back it up yet, is that it's Asia in general, right, or Southeast Asia and plus Asia, we see a lot of returnees, right? These are people who probably made it, in the US or in Europe or some other parts of the world where it's more developed. And then when they came back into this part of the region, they've contributed back, they've started their own companies because they have, the kind of experience that they probably wouldn't have gotten, in Asia itself. So I think like in Axie Infinity's case, one of the founders, being local Vietnamese, he has a lot of, experience, not just in Vietnam, but also, externally. So I think these kind of experienced entrepreneurs, experienced, even, corporate leaders who come back and then start businesses here, this will be the boom, right, for Asia, because you have to be trained somewhere else, learn the hard lessons, the hard knocks, come back to Asia and study it again, right? We've seen that in China with all the, the unicorns from China. I'm sure we'll see that also in Southeast Asia in the coming, next couple of years.
Bowie, we talk about game, but GAME, also an acronym for games, arts, media, entertainment. The use and participation of blockchain technology in these industries have been booming this year, powered by the rise of NFTs and DeFi. How important, in your view, are these key industries to the early stages of blockchain technology? What investment opportunities are you seeing particularly right now in this space?
There are a lot. There are many. If you talk about the investment opportunity in the gaming, art, music, and entertainment, and the blockchain technology / NFT really is the enabler to further develop all these startups in the field. In the past, for example, using music, all the artists are basically getting ripped off by all these publishers or studios. But now with the NFT / blockchain technology, they basically can take most of the ownership and they can monetize the most. So music is definitely one of them. Others like art, even if there's still quite a lot of value for physical art product, but there's a huge booming in the art space using the non-fungible token. So and we all seen the latest. I think the biggest expensive NFT costs over 69 million just for one piece of token. So yes.
Yeah, Beeples. Look, we cover this. We've been covering the NFT market cap, and it is incredible to see the kind of trading volume growth, even in just the past couple of months, really superseding what we've seen traditionally in the space, including, altcoins and Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is the speed of growth that is extraordinarily interesting. So you've got two groups here. One group that says, yes, all in, this is the next wave. Another group still scratching their head and saying, what is the value of NFTs? This is made up stuff. This is digitally created something out of nothing. And all of a sudden, these things are worth millions, got market cap of billions, trading volume of hundreds of millions a day. What's going on? So, guys, what's going on?
Great
I think the first thing you got to do is to understand and get yourself educated. I think this is a key. I wouldn't, if you, this is my personal opinion, I wouldn't ask anybody to jump. Even if you want to learn, start with a very little bit amount of money, consider as a fee to pay to get to know what it is. Having an NFT wallet, how does it work, or buy a little bit of token. Or Bitcoin as an experiment. But throughout the whole process, you got to understand a lot, the private key, public key, the whole transaction, which are the most safest or with the highest volume of exchange. Every single thing that you do, you actually learn. You got to understand a lot. But one thing we wanted to clarify is True Global Ventures is the 100% equity fund. At the end of the day, if we believe in a company, we do not invest into cryptocurrency. We only invest into the equity. But if they give us the token as a bonus, we wouldn't say no. That's all.
Yeah, and just to add on to Bowie's points, I think I've talked to a lot of traditional investors, and they are like, Kelly, tell me, what is this whole NFT about? Is it just one big scam? Is it is it going to be money laundering? They all the typical kind of citizens kind of doubts come to mind, right? So I think the best way for at least for now that we've found to explain this is really that it is about the change of the revolution of digital ownership, right? Because NFTs represent digital ownership, and it could be your house, it could be something digital assets, it could be even a domain name, it could be anything that's offline or online. Anything that you have to prove your digital ownership, NFTs can affect. So in a way, it's crypto, but not really. And we see that there is actually a divergence in terms of adoption of NFTs. Because today you can go to any projects, not any yet, but most projects, you can sign up using a credit card. They don't even ask you what is your crypto wallet. They won't ask you for Ethereum or Bitcoin. And I think it's getting more and more mainstream. So we will see a lot more NFTs being adopted in various parts, some that we cannot even imagine right now. And I think that's where the innovation will come. And that's when NFTs, blockchain, all this will show true value, right? So I think today a lot of people are thinking it's very speculative, right? Because art is very speculative in nature, whether it's offline or even now digital art. But we see things like, digital ownership of game assets. This has been, billions of dollars of, in terms of value in the traditional game market, right? It's just that now it is through the digital ownership, you can trade it and you can actually generate, the IP owners can actually generate a fee out of it, right? So basically they can generate a monthly recurring revenue. So this is a new revenue source for the game companies. So that's why they're adopting this very quickly, right? And they're seeing value in this.
And familiar to all of us in this space, Yatsu, who's chairman of Animoca Brands and prolific, leader in this space, talking about NFTs and gaming and all the rest, really a decade before anybody else was really paying attention. But talking about just what that ecosystem, the value of the metaverse ecosystem actually is, when it is about community and people are there and there is an integrated ecosystem that supports that, which is the game, right? And, how do we find value in these relationships? And then therein lies, NFTs or tokens. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, the underlying security of an NFT is what you and I create, right? Yep. So it could be music, it could be content, it could be art, it could be really anything. We are seeing it, in K-pop right now. We're seeing it engaged in sports right now. But you're totally right. The future is still being defined as we speak. But I think what's really interesting about NFTs is that it's that next level of finding value in this space and getting rid of the middleman. I could still just directly, participate and leave, pretty much without having to deal with somebody's, music label or manager or, branding group, whatever the case is.
Absolutely. And I think creating these opportunities also creates some threat, because now for NFTs, right, and in crypto in general, it's going back to the user's, responsibility, right? In a bank, you put money in and you assume the bank will keep your money safe, right? In this case, because you own the wallet, yes, you own the wallet, you own the NFT. Anything is, if you have lapse of security, it's your fault, right? Because it's basically yours, right? So I think that even though yes, it gives a lot of benefits here, but it goes back to the user again. This is now your security. You have to take care of it yourself. No one's responsible except yourself, right? And this creates also some opportunities. Like, for example, would there be new computer security companies that just target this, right? I just want to defend your wallet. I want to defend your token. I want to defend your NFT. How can a company or companies out there create solutions for users to kind of know, like, now I'm bank grade security, right? I'm not just having a very weak password in my computer. I can be hacked anytime. I would just give away my passphrase anytime, right? So these are all dangers, right, that are out there.
Yeah, scams. Don't use your birthday or your phone number. Please don't use that.
Yes, don't do that. And don't use your password as password. I think that's the worst.
Don't use hello.
Yeah. Just to add to Kelly's point, right? I think one of the current problem is the market is hot, and there's a lot of pump and dump, especially in the NFT space. To give you an example, you could have you can create your own NFT. For example, one picture you created, and you at the same time use 100 Ether to purchase it, to create a fake transaction. Now your NFT is worth 100 Ether. So, and at the end, you can actually sell it at 50 and people will buy because they saw that, okay, the previous price was 100 Ether, I got 50% off. So that's how they make money. That's how they pump and dump.
Those are the things that this space really screams out to, the need for regulators. How do you view the role of regulators in Asia as they even compare, globally as well? How do you view the regulatory space?
Yeah, maybe I can start with the Singapore side of things first, because we see a lot of innovations here. I think regulators should be very clear, right? What is possible, what is not possible. Just like the MES in Singapore, right? The Monetary Authority of Singapore, they are very clear, right? This is allowed, this is not allowed. And I think it helps a lot if the authorities themselves are innovative, in the sense that they're trying new, different projects. Like, for example, I think the MES in Singapore here are trying some of these CBDCs, right? Central bank digital currencies. So this is a signal to the private, entrepreneurs, private investors, that they are willing to try, which means that if you go towards the direction, you probably will not be, getting into trouble, and you can sleep well at night, probably, right? So I think, regulators should definitely show, some sort of leadership, or at least make it very clear what is possible, what is not possible, so that, the innovation can actually thrive. Because if the signals are not strong, right, or at least the signals are not clear, it's very risky, right? Some people may try it, some people may not, and you will not foster an environment of innovation. So at least this is from, I would say, the Singapore point of view. But Bowie, I don't know whether you have any other thoughts on this.
Well, the spotlight is in China, because everybody is keen in watching all the development in the China space. The regulators have been actively clarifying their stance in details for different industries, which is a good thing. While overall the regulation seems to be well-intentional, it will take some time for people to adjust and adapt. And China is anyway leading the blockchain space, like the government-backed CBDC, pilot, and lots of fintech applications. But another interesting country is India. India is another market that has neither clearly stated that crypto are allowed and supported, nor completely banned. So there's a lot of legislative and regulatory dialogue still happening to define the way forward. A change of regulation is not unique just to Asia. Recently, just Binance has been facing some challenge in UK and in Singapore with regulators discussing requirements in order to be regulated.
Hong Kong, all of those things, absolutely. To your point, India, I want to just quickly pick up on that. It is a very kind of, ever-changing landscape. There's oscillation. Of course, we're seeing it in other countries as well. But I wonder, as VCs, does this turn you off, or does this excite you about India?
That excites me. I do have a deep connection to India because my husband is from there. So through that, I got to expand my network a lot, and I got to know a lot of good. Basically, there's lots of hidden treasures in the country. The treasures startups, that's what I refer to. That personally excites me the most. But I'm mindful of the fact that it is a bit challenging as a foreign investor investing in the country. There's a lot of regulatory and taxation challenges that you have to overcome, especially currently with the current situation. All these Chinese capital are banned to enter to India market. So I guess you just need to get yourself educated more before you get into the market. And if you're Chinese, then you have to put on hold for now.
Yeah. Well, it kind of opens the door for anybody who, is actually an invited foreign investor into India, paying attention to what you're seeing and what excites you. I'm curious, you said there's a lot of hidden treasures. Can you tell, you don't have to name any names, but describe them. What do you see that's a diamond in hiding?
You have to look for it. It's very time consuming. It's hard work. As a matter of fact, I did an event called the Hidden Treasure of India last year, just to focus on this topic. The startup wise, I guess I wouldn't name the companies, but then they are offering a cold storage solution for the country. As you know, is a really hot place, and the challenge to be able to deliver fresh dairy products as well as medical items, maintain a certain amount of temperature within, and also to be able to deliver on time is a major challenge that the country is facing. And this company is providing this solution. So, and doing really
literally cold storage, not
during the pandemic.
Yeah, not wallets, literally keeping something cold in storage.
Exactly.
and using blockchain, assuming to keep that kind of supply chain.
That could be a potential for them to develop using blockchain to, I guess, record all the data. Yes. Yeah, for supply chain. Absolutely.
So from India, let's talk about China here. China's such an incredible space for blockchain, very specifically not in love with cryptocurrency itself, tolerates it to a certain degree. But when we talk about the regulatory environment, that can switch. And sometimes it switches, within days or even suddenly. And we've seen that. I mean, for those of us in the region, we've seen that. This is not a stranger to us. Does that concern you, though? As you invest in this space, how do you regard China? What's your feeling? What's your thoughts on the opportunities in China and potentially the challenges?
Yep, maybe I can go first on this. So I think China has a very deep link into Asia itself, right? So when we look at some of these technologies out of China, a lot of the teams are based in Singapore, and they're also based in other parts of Asia, because the team is, you can see they're fully from China itself. I think a lot of the technologies that they are looking at, especially in blockchain, solves a lot of the problems that they have faced in such a large country, right? And I think some of these are transferable to markets like in India or even like Indonesia, where the population is vast. There's a lot of islands in between somewhere, or so a lot of borders. So I think a lot of these technologies from China, I think they are definitely replicable in this region, and those are the kind of companies that we would like to look for, right? And also to invest, because they are not only solving the problems in China but also solving the world's problem. And I think those are the technologies that will probably stand out and will one day probably also become worldwide, right, and world recognized.
Yep. Bowie, how about you?
As you know, China is a leading position in terms of blockchain and CBDC. So a lot of big companies or startup are benefited from the government support. So that's still a bright future for them, especially for a lot of fintech applications. And those fintech applications can be used outside of the country. So still have quite a lot of potential. But I'm also mindful of the fact that there could be, I think, another potential challenge, I would say, is that it has to be centralized. So they perhaps would not be consider having a decentralized model.
And so therein lies the interesting parallel about blockchain in China. There's a domestic policy, and then there's an international one, which, they're building out with the international version of Blockchain Services Network. But so we talked about India and China, and as we kind of covered the big two in the region. And before I let you guys go, I got to ask you, in the region right now, from Malaysia to Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, et cetera, in Japan, South Korea, all of these countries that kind of exist within our territory. What do you think what's the most exciting space right now? What are the hidden treasures? Bo, I'm going to borrow your phrase, the hidden treasure the Asia Pacific region, and I'll let both of you share some hidden treasures with us.
Sure, maybe I'll go first. I'm not really a treasure hunter, but yeah, treasures sometimes.
Well, by default, as a VC, you're a treasure hunter.
Sometimes the treasures do come to knocking, right? So
it's true.
It depends on who finds who first. And it's all about warm referrals, right? When people come in and say, hey, I know TGV helps companies in this space. Why don't you have a look at these guys? Because it's not possible for everyone to know every startup, right? But it's possible to have a very strong network in order to get the best deals. So I think that's how we are positioned ourselves. So some hidden treasures, I would say. I wouldn't spot any particular country because they could really come from anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. But I think some of the hidden treasures out there will definitely be how companies could actually develop further services on top of NFTs. I think NFTs today are very limited in terms of the use case. Mostly art, mostly games. Kind of sometimes ownership of domain names and some utilities. But I think there is a lot of opportunity for companies to actually create all the fringe services that are around NFTs. Be it kind of pricing it, trying to get loans out of NFTs, trying to create a whole ecosystem of financial services around it. A little bit of what I touched upon just now, right? So I think there is going to be a lot of opportunities here because I think Asia has a lot of still some unbanked, right? And of course it's still developing. So I think there will be a lot of localized kind of heroes that will come out. These are the hidden gems that we're looking for. And I think these are the ones that we're very keen to explore more with.
It's an interesting question that you asked, Angie, because if we talk about gaming, people can have all these fantasy in the Metaverse space. And in there, they can be whoever they want, whatever they want, and wherever they want. So, but when they get into this space and actually be able to play and earn and manage to bring food to the table, like what Kelly mentioned, that really changed their world big time, especially during the pandemic, because lots of people lost their job, they lost their business. So I would say, I wouldn't name a specific country, but I would say all the developing countries have huge potentials to grow big time. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's our thesis.
Sorry, just to add on Bowie, I think there will be a lot of games coming, NFT games that will, because NFT gaming market is still in its nascency, right? It's still very, very early. None of the AAA titles are out there, right? In the traditional gaming market, all the big boys are there. They have loads of money, loads of budgets to do great artwork, great storyline, great games. But none of these are in NFTs yet, right? A lot of them are still, I would say, single A or double A kind of titles. So it's still very, very early. There are a lot of great studios, I'm sure, in Asia and other parts of the world who are going into this whole NFTs. So it's still nascent, and we're very excited. I'm sure there will be a lot of new NFT games and even entertainment, right, that is going to be coming out from Asia and beyond.
Well, that's truly the kind of coverage that keeps us busy at Forkast. It's thick with innovation. It's thick with startup founders. And what I find most interesting being in this space is that it is not just a technology story. It is a developing nation story. It is an emerging market story. It is a demographic story. It is an individual story. And all of those things combined that uniquely exist in Asia is truly, I think, it's fertile ground for hidden treasures. Well, you two are hidden treasures, but hidden no more. And for all the world to see and hear from. Kelly Choo, Bowie Lau, it's such a pleasure to invite you to the show. And thank you so much for kind of sharing some secret sauce with the rest of the world. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of piqued interests and raised eyebrows and a little bit more attention paid to this part of the world. But thanks thanks for sharing a little bit more as to why this region is so exciting and also what more needs to be done. It was a pleasure to have you both on the show.
Thank you, Angie.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this latest episode of Word on the Block. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forkast News. Until the next time.